But now he hears this voice from heaven because his faith has to be revealed. Take that son that you love. I need you to offer him up as a sacrifice. Take him to Mount Moriah. Offer him up as a sacrifice. Can you imagine the pain that was in Abraham's heart? But he knew God. He loved God so much. I got to trust you, Lord, through this. I got to trust you through this. I got to trust you through this. He and Isaac now. Isaac's about 14. Me and Abraham is about 114, and they're traveling to Mount Moriah. The burden is I'm traveling with my son that I love, but I got to go back all by myself because I got to obey God. He told me to take this son. They get to Mount Moriah. I could hear Isaac say, Daddy, sit down. I've been watching you. Oh, I know how you build the fire. I know what you do when you come to Mount Moriah. This is your place of worship, and you make a sacrifice. Sit down, Daddy. I want to show you that I've learned so much from you. Would you just let me build the altar? Would you just let me build the fire? He does it. He does it. Then he looks at his daddy and says, Daddy, I built the altar. The fire's ready. By now, we have a sacrifice. Where's the sacrifice? He has to look at the son that he loves, and he says, Son, you're the sacrifice. I could see him with tears in his eyes. And guess what? Isaac lays down. All the teenagers of the day wouldn't do this because they said, if that's the Lord told you that I'm going to be the sacrifice. You 114 years old, I'm 14 years old. Well, the Lord better give you strength to catch me because I'm getting ready to run up out of here. I think he'd have ran all the way home, told his mama, daddy done lost his mind. He done gone senile. He wanted me to lay down and he was going to kill me. But Isaac lays on the altar. Abraham ties his hands. He ties his feet. Lifts the knife. Ready to come down on his only son that he loves. I could see the knife shaking in his hand, but he hears a voice from heaven saying, Hold up, Abraham. It was only a test. I just needed to see if you loved me more than you loved him. I needed to see if you trusted me more than you trusted him. Some of you are going through something right now, and I'm here to tell you all God wants to do is reveal your faith. It's just a test, but some of us are crying. We got our heads down, but I dare you to speak into somebody's life tonight. Tell them it's just a test. Oh God, I believe tonight somebody's about to take dominion through the test. One more thought I got to give you, and I got to let you go. I just got a couple of minutes left. Listen. Not only will God reveal your faith, but he'll send a test to strengthen and confirm your faith. Because I stopped by to tell somebody, in case you don't know it tonight, in your life, the only way your faith is going to be strengthened, you got to go through all the seasons. You see the seasons, each season, it allows your faith, it allows your strength to grow. That's why I know we may like sunshine, but too much sunshine will dry you out. Too much rain. Sometimes you want rain, but too much rain will drown your house. When it goes outside in the day. Sometimes it's too much rain, so what God will do, he'll mix the rain. He'll mix it with the sunshine. He'll mix some good days with some bad days. He'll mix some ups. He'll mix some downs. He'll do it. That's what he'll do. But when it all comes together, I may have some witnesses here. He'll work it out for your good. I got to close with this story. God called me. In November of 1972, he said, son, I need you to move to New Orleans. But I didn't know anybody in New Orleans. Move to New Orleans. That's where I want you to be. Go to New Orleans. But I don't know anybody in New Orleans. My father had a popular national radio program, but it didn't get into the South. It got into most parts of the country. Lord, could you send me somewhere where they know my daddy at least? But God said, I told you to go there. I moved a little bit too slow. And so God had to teach me a lesson. I was doing a revival in Cleveland, Ohio. In Cleveland, Ohio. And I was preaching, and at that particular time was 5-night revivals. And you know, living in Windsor, Ontario, Canada, I just, was about a 300-mile drive. So I was in my early 20s. It was no problem for me to drive. I was going to drive back home. So I loaded up my trunk on that Friday night. I was going back home. The church was so kind. They said, Elder, park in front of the church. It's Church of God in Christ. They, park in front of the church. Oh, yeah, you are a guest evangelist. They had me the parking space right in front of the church. Had my clothes in the car. I was clean every night. I had 5 different suits, one for each night. Because back then, I just lived right across from Detroit. And they had a place called Sermons or Todd's that you could go to, and you could get a suit for $29.95. I was clean every night. I had all my clothes in the trunk. I had them all in the trunk. Go outside after the revival. No coat, no car, and no insurance on the car. Went back in. Some of the old mothers were still in the church. They were still in the church. And I came back in and said, somebody stole my car. We had such a good time at the revival that night. They just started shouting, oh, glory. Oh, the devil just mad. I said, well, I must be working with them tonight because I'm mad too. But I had to listen to God. Oh, I didn't have no car, but I got on a Greyhound bus. And in November of 1972, I headed to New Orleans. It was about a 3-day journey. Because if you know anything about Greyhound, they stop everywhere. But when I got to New Orleans, person that hates cold weather, I got to New Orleans in November. It was about 80 degrees. Ooh, I felt like I was in heaven. Man, I got off that bus. I said, thank you, Jesus. What took me so long? I got married. God blessed us. But in 1989, we experienced the coldest winter New Orleans ever had. And what I loved about the house that my wife and I bought, it was really not just the house, but I loved the landscaping in front of the house. Because in front of the house, we had some beautiful palm trees. And those palm trees, I just drive around, look at my palm trees, because it just reminded me a little taste of Hawaii. But in 1989, my palm tree died. They said I ain't used to this cold. But right across the street was an old oak tree. I don't care how cold it got. The oak tree kept standing. I don't care how the wind would blow. The oak tree kept standing. Oh, that oak tree could have talked to that New Orleans cold weather. It would have told that weather, listen, you don't even know who you messing with, New Orleans weather. I've got some oak tree cousins in New York. I've got some oak tree cousins in Chicago. They know what cold is. Bring on your cold. That was a lesson for me. And I want to share with somebody tonight, because I must confess to you, when I moved to New Orleans, I was nothing but a palm tree. I mean, I grew up in a family of 9. I was the baby boy. You heard my big brother tonight. I mean, they took good care of me. My daddy loved me. My daddy loved me because when I was born, he was 53 years old. So it was like an Abraham and Isaac situation. That's my boy. That's my... So, I mean, they would pat me on my head. Oh, just like his daddy. Oh, chip off the old block. Oh, Paul. Oh, look at him. He gonna be something. But when I got to New Orleans, started pastoring, the church began to grow, began to multiply. People started lying on me. I'm talking about just making up stuff. I wasn't used to that. People just make up stuff. And you got to remember now, social media wasn't out back then. They would just make up stuff, and it would get all over the place. And here I was. They was lying on me. I mean, they would say stuff like, you going to that church? I know they crowding up in there, but you better watch going to that church. In fact, you better watch that Paul Morton's hands, because he uses his hands a lot when he preaches. And what he's doing, he's hypnotizing you. You better close your eyes if you go to that church. And they had me putting my hands in my pocket. That was just, I was just so paranoid. They'd say, hey, you go to that church, you can join that church if you want, but you better take your 1040 with you. You better take your tax return with you, because they're going to take your tithes out. They're going to know if you tithe. And I had some members back then talking about, for true. No, that's a New Orleans word. I mean, for true? No, ain't for true. You ain't bought nothing and showed me nothing. But people started lying on me, and I couldn't take it. I would just go in my room and I would cry. But my enemies made one mistake. They kept lying on me. But the more they lied, the more I bowed on my knees. The more I bowed on my knees, the stronger I got. And I'm here to tell you, God changed me from a palm tree to an oak tree. That's why I come tonight to tell you, God wants to strengthen your faith, wipe the tears from your eyes. I feel like preaching in this place. You got to know that God is able to seek you through. I would just need you to look at somebody, tell them it's just a test. It's just a test. It's just a test. I believe in these 24 years, God raised up an oak tree. People were lying on us. They said we wouldn't survive. But look where He brought me from. He brought me from a mighty long way. I think I got some oak trees up in here tonight. Are you ready for all the seasons? Let the winds blow. Let the storms rise. Won't God make a way somehow? Won't He fix it? My time is gone, but I'm glad about it. I'm glad about it. Won't God turn it around? Won't God turn it around? I don't care how somebody may be smiling. I dare you to look at him and tell him it's just a test. It's just a test. Somebody may be going through something right now. It's just a test. Is there anybody? Is there anybody? You're glad about it? I'm glad. The God I serve. Yes, I'm stronger. I'm wiser. I'm better because of my test. Anybody glad? Anybody glad? That's why in 2005, bringing on Hurricane Katrina, you don't know who you're messing with now. I'm an oak tree. Yes, look at full gospel. The devil tried to tell us that this could never happen, preaching the gap between Baptist and Pentecost, but they didn't know you messing with